Imagine yourself standing in the middle of a deep cave, where the darkness is so thick you can feel it wrapping around you like a cold blanket. The damp stone walls silently whisper ancient secrets, and in that still space, a faint sound rises, not from the cracks in the rock, not from the wind rushing through, but from deep within your chest. It's not the familiar beat of your heart, not the steady breath you take in the quiet of night. It's a whisper, fragile as mist, yet powerful as a flame smoldering beneath a layer of ash. That is the call of superconsciousness, the hidden intelligence within every human being, a forgotten lighthouse amid the storm of reason and logic. I first heard that whisper over 2 decades ago, on a night of torrential rain when the sky seemed intent on swallowing the world whole. I stood at a crossroads, not on a map, but in my own life. On one side was a safe path, paved with numbers, data, and the dry advice of those around me. On the other was a shrouded trail, devoid of light or signs, driven only by a strange pull forward, a wordless certainty, as if an invisible hand had rested on my shoulder and said, "Go." I had no reason to trust it. I was a researcher, a skeptic, someone who'd spent thousands of hours in dusty libraries and frigid labs, convinced that everything could be explained by formulas and reasoning. But that night I followed the whisper, and it saved me not just from a wrong decision, but from a lifetime lived in the shadows of ignorance. From that moment, I began my journey, not to seek superconsciousness, but to remember it, to peel back the layers of dust the modern world has heaped upon our innate wisdom. For over 30 years, I've traveled paths few have trod. From monasteries tucked away in the Himalayas, where lamas murmur of the invisible flow of the mind, to cutting-edge labs in Switzerland, where scientists use brain scans to prove there's a part of you that knows more than you think. I've read tattered manuscripts from the Middle Ages, listened to tribal stories by firelight, and tested hundreds of techniques to touch the deepest layers of awareness. All to grasp a simple yet astonishing truth. You don't need to learn to be wise, you just need to listen. Ask yourself right now, have you ever felt something was right without being able to explain it? A fleeting hunch that made you pause before crossing the street, only to see a car speed by moments later? Or an idea that flashed in your mind, leading you to an opportunity you weren't even seeking? Maybe you've heard a tiny voice rise in your thoughts just before a big decision. Not advice from someone else, not logic from books, but a deep certainty, as if the universe were whispering directly to you. That's not chance. That's not luck. That's your superconsciousness. A higher intelligence, a flame flickering in the cave of your soul, waiting for you to fan it into a blaze. But why do we so rarely hear that whisper? Why do we live in a world where moments of intuition are dismissed as fleeting dreams, where the sparks of superconsciousness are snuffed out by the noise of logic and analysis? The answer lies in how we're raised, shaped by a society that worships reason as the only God. From a young age, you're told every question has an answer in a book, every decision must be weighed by numbers, feelings can't be trusted. Modern education has built towering walls around your mind, locking shut the door to superconsciousness and tossing the key into the abyss of doubt. You're taught to analyze, to question, to seek evidence, but no one teaches you how to listen. I recall a conversation with an old friend, a brilliant engineer who'd spent his life building perfect machines. He scoffed when I mentioned intuition, calling it a mind game. But then, in an unguarded moment, he told me about a night he woke up, gripped by an odd unease about his biggest project. With no data, no reason, he decided to recheck the blueprints and found a tiny flaw that could have collapsed the whole structure. "I don't know why I did it," he said, his voice trembling. "It was like someone told me." I smiled. It wasn't someone. It was his superconsciousness, quietly guiding him through the dark. So what is superconsciousness? It's not magic, not something you must beg from gods or the universe. It's a part of you, a layer of awareness beyond everyday consciousness and the familiar subconscious. If consciousness is a tiny flashlight illuminating just a corner of reality, and the subconscious is a storehouse of old memories and habits, then superconsciousness is an eternal flame, blazing in the deep cave of your soul, lighting up the entire field of perception in a single moment. It doesn't need learning, doesn't need reasoning, it knows. And it's always there, waiting for you to return. But this isn't my story or my engineer friends. It's yours, and this journey will take us through deeper doors, where superconsciousness isn't just a concept, but a living power you can touch. Imagine you're standing before a colossal curtain, woven from shimmering silver threads, trembling in the invisible wind of time. Beyond that curtain isn't ordinary light, not the simple answers you find in books or computer screens. It's a river of light, profound, mysterious, and endless, flowing through your soul, connecting you to horizons the naked eye can't see. That's superconsciousness, not a distant idea, not a mystical dream, but a vivid reality, etched into every cell, every heartbeat. And now, we'll pull that curtain aside together, revealing a truth hidden for thousands of years. A truth both modern science and ancient wisdom proclaim in unison. You carry within you an intelligence beyond time and space. Superconsciousness isn't something you need to learn to possess. It's always been there, like a flame smoldering in the cave of your soul, waiting for you to ignite it. If consciousness is a small flashlight, shining only on a narrow slice of reality, what you see, hear, and think in this moment. And if the subconscious is an old treasure chest, holding memories, habits, and fears from the past, then superconsciousness is something entirely different. It's an eternal flame, unbound by the walls of logic or the threads of time. It doesn't just see a part, it sees the whole field of awareness, from the tiniest dust of the present to the distant stars of the future. When superconsciousness speaks, it doesn't explain, it knows. And when you listen, you don't just understand, you become. I once thought everything could be captured in numbers and charts. In my early career, I was a researcher obsessed with data, convinced the human brain was just a complex machine, running on measurable laws. But then, by chance at a science conference in Zurich, I witnessed an experiment that changed everything. A team of neuroscientists used MRI scans to track participants' brains as they faced questions with no clear answers. In the moment they found a solution, not through analysis but through a sudden flash, a region of their brain lit up, a network scientists call the default mode network. It wasn't the part responsible for logic or linear thinking. It was where deep wisdom converged, where far-flung ideas connected like stars in a mysterious constellation. What stunned me even more was how brainwaves shifted in those moments. When you're lost in everyday thoughts, planning, analyzing, worrying, your brain hums at beta frequency, fast and chaotic like wind howling through a forest. But when superconsciousness steps in, the waves slow, shifting to alpha, a relaxed yet alert state, like a still lake reflecting moonlight, then deeper still to theta, where dreams and intuition intertwine like morning mist. Sometimes, in rare moments of enlightenment, you touch gamma, the frequency of extraordinary connection, where the entire brain synchronizes, like a symphony rising from the depths of your soul. The scientists told me this wasn't random. It's a higher cognitive function, a door that opens when your mind lets go of control and lets the river of light flow through. But what truly gave me chills wasn't the numbers or screen images. It was discovering that the heart, not just a pump for blood, joins this symphony too. Researchers at the HeartMath Institute in California proved the heart has its own nervous system, with over 40,000 neurons, acting like a little brain that can learn, remember, and sense. In one experiment, they showed volunteers random images, some neutral, some shocking. The strange thing was, their heart rates changed before the images appeared, as if the heart sensed the future before the brain could process it. They called it presentiment, a tiny prophetic ability, not based on logic, but on the invisible connection of superconsciousness. I stood there, watching the heart rate curves on the screen, wondering, if the heart knows ahead, what else have we missed? But this isn't a story confined to modern science. It stretches back thousands of years, through doors the ancient civilizations opened long ago. In India's hidden libraries, I read Vedic texts about the Akashic records, an infinite field of information where all knowledge of past, present, and future blends into one. Sages believed superconsciousness was the key to tapping this field, not through books, but through the stillness of the mind. I recall a frigid night in Egypt's desert, when a guide told me about Ba, the highest part of the human soul, depicted as a bird soaring among the stars, carrying divine wisdom from the unseen realm. Ba doesn't think, he said. his eyes glinting under the firelight. Ba knows. Then there was a time in a small Tibetan village, sitting beside an old lama who'd spent his life meditating in dark caves. He handed me an aged scroll, its shaky but clear script reading, "True wisdom lies not in words or books. It flows like an invisible river, through the minds of those who know how to listen." I asked him how to hear that river. He smiled, placed his hand on my chest and said, "Stop searching. It's already here." Those words struck me like lightning, echoing what I'd seen in the lab, that superconsciousness isn't something you attain, but something you recall. Science and the ancient don't clash. They're two doors to the same room. Scientists call it the default mode network, theta waves, or heart-brain signals. Sages call it Akashic, Ba, or the invisible flow. But names don't matter. What matters is the truth. You're not just a brain or a heart. You're a conduit, a flame linked to the vast universe. I once met a woman in Brazil, a shaman in the Amazon, who said she saw a flood before it happened, just by sitting by the river and listening. "I didn't predict it," she said. "The river told me." When I checked her story, scientists had recorded shifts in Earth's magnetic field before that disaster, as if her superconsciousness caught a signal machines were only beginning to grasp. But if superconsciousness is so powerful, why don't we always hear it? The answer lies in the dust of time and society. For centuries, we've built walls around our minds, walls of logic, doubt, and the ceaseless noise of the outside world. We're taught intuition is weak, feelings unreliable, analysis the only truth. But consider this: when Einstein discovered relativity, he didn't toil over calculations for hours. He said it came to him like a flash in a dream. When Mozart composed, he heard entire pieces in his head before touching the pen. That's not logic, that's superconsciousness, silently guiding through the darkness. So where are you in this story? Have you ever felt that river of light? When was the last time you trusted something without proof? Maybe you brushed it off, thinking it was just imagination. But what if I told you it's real? That within you burns a flame, a wisdom beyond what you've been taught, ready to lead you to new horizons? Pause for a second, because the path to unlocking it isn't just theory, it's action, and we'll step into it together right now. Imagine you're standing before an ancient gate, carved from glossy black stone, covered in strange symbols no earthly language can decode. Beyond that gate isn't a paved road or a familiar path. It's a misty land where tiny flames flicker in the dark, guiding you into the depths of your soul. This isn't a place you reach with your feet, but with the stillness of your mind and the courage of your heart. This is the path to unlocking, the secret map to awaken superconsciousness, to touch the flame that's smoldered within you since birth. I've walked this path, not once, but hundreds of times over 3 decades of research, trial, and failure. And now, I'll give you the keys not to copy me, but to open your own gate. Superconsciousness isn't something you can grasp with reason or force with will. It's like a wild bird. You can't catch it with your hands, but you can invite it to perch with patience and quiet space. Throughout my journey, I've tried hundreds of techniques, from grueling meditations in Himalayan forests to brainwave experiments in sealed rooms. I've failed more times than I can count, but each stumble revealed a piece of this map. What I'm about to share isn't empty theory. They're flames I've kindled from my own darkness, tools that led me through treacherous turns and opened horizons I never dared dream of. Take them, try them, and make them yours. The first technique is how I start each day, like a flame piercing the darkness. I call it morning fire, a version I've refined from ancient meditations and modern brainwave science. It's the moment you wake, when your mind still hovers between dream and reality, where the boundary between consciousness and superconsciousness is thin as silk. As your eyes open, don't move, don't grab your phone. Lie still, breathe deeply. Inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 6, letting your breath become a gentle wave. Now picture a small flame. Not big, not dazzling, just a warm glow, burning in the center of your chest. Don't try to see it with your eyes, but feel it with your heart. The warmth spreading, the subtle vibration. Once you sense that flame, ask one question: what do I need to know today? Don't chase an answer, don't analyze. Just listen. Maybe an image will appear, a path, a face, a color. Maybe a word will echo in your mind, or just a feeling, peace, a push, a warning. Write it down the moment you rise, even if it seems meaningless. I remember the first time I tried this, 15 years ago, in a small room in Nepal. I'd just woken after a long night of meditation, and when I asked, "What do I need to know?" a strange image appeared. A silver key on sand. I didn't understand, but I noted it. 3 days later, at a small market, I stumbled on an old key, and it led me to an antique book in a second-hand shop, where I found a meditation technique that changed how I approach superconsciousness forever. That wasn't coincidence, it was superconsciousness leading the way. The next step takes us to another door, a technique I created after years of research. I call it Mind Mirror, a way to dialogue directly with superconsciousness, not through thought, not through logic, but through your own reflection. You'll need a mirror, any mirror, whether in the bathroom or on your desk, and a quiet space. Stand before it, look straight into your eyes, but don't see your face. Look deeper, as if piercing the glass to touch another world. Breathe slowly, letting your mind settle like a lake after rain. Then ask a question, one that truly matters to you. What's hidden in me? Or what do I need to see right now? Don't expect a voice to answer. Instead, let your mind drift and note whatever emerges. An image, a feeling, a memory. Don't judge, don't analyze. Just write. I first tried this during a crisis, unsure if I should abandon a 5-year research project. Standing before the mirror, I asked, "What should I do?" In that moment, I saw a bird flying over a desert. No words, no explanation. I wrote it down, and 2 days later, I got an invite to a conference in Nevada's desert. There, I met a scientist who helped me complete my project. Mind Mirror isn't magic. It's how superconsciousness uses images to tell you what words can't. Then we'll go further, into a realm where superconsciousness roams freest. I call this technique Dream Door, inspired by lucid dreaming art I learned from an Australian Aboriginal. Dreams aren't just random mind fragments. They're gateways to superconsciousness, where you can ask and receive answers from the depths. Before sleep, build a small habit. Repeat in your head 5 times, "I'll see clearly in my dream." Write it down if needed, it'll etch the intent into your subconscious. As you slip into sleep, if you realize you're dreaming, maybe the sky shifts oddly or you fly without wings, look for a door. It could be anything. An old wooden door, a glowing arch, a hole in a wall. Step through it and ask, "What do I need to see?" Then watch. Don't try to control, let superconsciousness guide. I once stepped through such a door in a dream 10 years ago. I found myself atop a strange city, its towering buildings glinting under moonlight. I didn't know what it was, but I wrote it down on waking. A week later, I was invited to Dubai, and as the plane landed, I recognized that exact scene. Superconsciousness doesn't just give answers, it offers visions beyond time. And finally, tap into a key science helped me uncover. I call it heartbeat flow. The heart isn't just an organ, it's a guide with its own nervous system that senses before the brain understands. I learned this from HeartMath researchers and turned it into a simple yet powerful technique. Sit still, place your hand on your chest, and breathe in a 5-to-5 rhythm. Inhale 5 seconds, exhale 5 seconds. Feel your heartbeat slow, steadying like a drum in an ancient rite. When you sense harmony, what scientists call coherence, ask, "What's true for me right now?" Don't think, feel. You might sense warmth spreading, relief, or a fleeting chill. That's superconsciousness speaking through your heart. I used this before a big presentation, unsure if I should share a bold idea. As I breathed and listened, a calm flooded me, and I chose to speak. Afterward, an audience member thanked me, saying that idea shifted how he saw his work. The heart knows if you'll listen, and when you listen, you'll find superconsciousness's language isn't just tools, but a symphony echoing through your entire life. Imagine you're standing on a towering cliff, below you a black ocean where waves roar like they're reciting tales from the dawn of time. Above, the sky scatters stars, each a letter in a language no book holds. Wind rushes past, carrying a strange sound. Not speech, not song, but a deep melody vibrating in your bones, as if the universe is whispering straight to your soul. This isn't human language, not words you learned from school or texts. This is the universe's language, how superconsciousness communes with you, not through logic, not through reason, but through mysterious signals flowing through your body, repeating symbols, and the invisible current of life itself. Superconsciousness doesn't speak in words. It doesn't need full sentences or long explanations. It's a silent flame, burning in the cave of your soul, sending tiny sparks through the darkness of everyday awareness. It whispers through a shiver down your spine, a warmth spreading in your chest, an image flashing in your mind. It paints signs across reality's sky, a number appearing thrice in a day, a phrase spoken by strangers, a dream oddly matching what you see awake. These aren't random coincidences. This is how superconsciousness talks to you, how the universe sends messages only those who listen can grasp. In over 30 years of research, I've learned to read this language, not with eyes or ears, but with my whole being. I've seen it steer me through perilous turns, unveil truths logic could never touch, and tie me to a flow bigger, deeper than I'd ever imagined. Today, I'll lead you through that door, so you don't just hear superconsciousness's whisper, but understand it, trust it, and live with it. Get ready, because once you start recognizing the universe's language, the world around you will never be the same. Superconsciousness's language begins closest to home. Your body is the first door to that symphony. Before your mind can analyze, before logic steps in, your body senses it. An ancient alarm system, a secret compass carved into every cell. Think of a time you entered a room and felt a chill, though there was no reason to fear. Or a moment you faced a choice and warmth bloomed in your chest, as if someone said, "Yes, keep going." That's not random emotion, that's superconsciousness signaling through your body, faster than light, deeper than reason. I recall a time, over a decade ago, driving on a winding mountain road in Italy. Everything was normal, clear skies, empty road, soft music on the radio. But suddenly, a strange feeling surged. Not fear, not worry, but a fierce urge, like an invisible hand pulling me left. I swerved without thinking, and seconds later, a massive rock tumbled from the cliff, smashing where I'd just been. If I'd paused to analyze, to ask why, I wouldn't be here telling you this. My body heard superconsciousness before my mind could catch up. To read this language, you need to hone sensitivity, not with thought, but with feeling. Next time you face a choice, pause for a second. Breathe deep. Notice your body. Does your heart race? Do your shoulders tense or relax? Do you feel pulled forward or pushed back? Superconsciousness doesn't shout, it whispers. And the difference between that whisper and fear's noise lies in subtlety. Fear screams, contracts, repeats. Intuition is gentle, clear, and comes once. Try it today before a small decision, like picking a book or a route. Listen to your body. Write down the feeling and see what happens. You'll start realizing your body isn't just a machine. It's a guide. But superconsciousness doesn't stop there. It reaches outward, sketching symbols on reality's tapestry. It speaks through what Carl Jung called synchronicity, meaningful coincidence. Think of a time you saw the same number 1111, 333, anything on a clock, license plate, and receipt in one day. Or heard a phrase from a stranger, then saw it repeat in a book and song soon after. That's not chance. That's the universe's language, how superconsciousness uses the outer world to mirror your inner one. I experienced such a strange string of symbols in the summer of 2008. I was weighing a research collaboration offer, my mind torn between logic and intuition. One morning, walking through a park, I saw a white owl, rare in daylight, perched on a branch, staring at me. I thought it was just a beautiful moment, but that night, I chanced on an old book describing how ancient Greeks saw owls as symbols of hidden wisdom. The next day, a colleague randomly mentioned the owl in mythology during an unrelated chat. 3 times in 3 days, and I knew it wasn't coincidence. I took the offer, and it led to a breakthrough in my brainwave research. Superconsciousness spoke to me through the owl, and I learned to listen. To understand this flow of symbols, start observing. Get a small notebook, I call it a cosmic journal, and record the odd signs in your day. A repeating number, an image popping up in unexpected places, a phrase echoing from different sources. Don't explain it yet, just note it. Over time, you'll see patterns emerge, like stars linking into a personal constellation. A friend once noted she always saw sunflowers before big life changes, and now uses them as a signal to prepare. Your language will differ, maybe an animal, a color, a sound. The universe speaks to each in a unique tone, and superconsciousness translates. But how do you know a signal's real, not imagination or fear in disguise? Here's where we need a small compass I devised. I call it the 5-second check, based on brain response speed research. When superconsciousness sends a signal, it hits fast as lightning, but wait too long, and logic blurs it with doubt and analysis. 5 seconds is the perfect window to catch the raw signal. It's simple. Facing a decision, whether choosing a path, answering a question, or seizing a chance. Count down in your head. 5-4-3-2-1. At 1, note the first feeling. An image, a word, a pull or push. Don't think, don't argue with it. Just write it, then try acting on it. I used this facing a big research contract. Counting down, one word arose. Wait. I didn't sign, though it looked perfect. And a week later, I learned the partner had serious financial issues. Those 5 seconds saved me from a huge mistake. Try it today. Pick a small decision, calling someone, buying something, taking a different way, and count 5-4-3-2-1. What's the first feeling? Act on it and see what happens. You'll be amazed how precise superconsciousness is when you don't let logic interfere. And then, as you hear it clearer, you'll see superconsciousness's language isn't just in body or symbols. It flows through your very life. I call this life flow, a state scientist's term flow, but I see it as deeper. When you start trusting superconsciousness, unexpected doors open, needed people appear, and random chances become part of a bigger picture. I saw this on a trip to India. I was hunting an ancient meditation manuscript with no clear leads. One afternoon, sitting by the Ganges, I felt an odd push, wordless, just a sense to go east. I followed, though I didn't know why. 2 hours later, I met a wandering bookseller holding the exact book I sought. The only copy he had, tucked in an old bag. That wasn't luck. That was superconsciousness guiding me through life's current. To feel this flow, start noticing your day's coincidences. You think of someone and they call right after. You feel drawn somewhere and find just what you need. Write those moments down. They're proof superconsciousness doesn't just speak, but leads you through life if you'll follow. And when you follow, you'll see living with superconsciousness isn't just listening, but becoming part of that light. Imagine you're standing atop a towering mountain, clouds drifting below, the first light of dawn piercing the dark, igniting a radiant flame in your chest. Wind sweeps through, carrying the scent of freedom. Not freedom from physical chains, but from the invisible walls of the mind, the noise of doubt, the shackles of dry logic. You're no longer a wanderer in the dark, seeking answers from the outside world. You are the flame of superconsciousness, burning bright amid life's storm, lighting the way not just for yourself, but for those still lost in the fog. This isn't a skill you learn, not a tool you pick up and set down. This is a way of being, living in superconsciousness's light, where intuition becomes your compass and your highest potential shifts from dream to reality. Living with superconsciousness isn't a single act, not a moment you flip a switch and everything changes. It's a river of light, flowing through every second of your life, asking you to open up, trust, and walk with it. In over 30 years of research, I've seen superconsciousness isn't just a fleeting spark. It's a companion, a guide, a flame that never dies if you nurture it. I've watched it turn my darkest days into profound lessons, my toughest choices into grand turning points. And now, I'll hand you the final map, not to trace my steps, but to chart your own path, from the cave of shadows to the mountain of light. It all starts the moment you open your eyes, not when you dive into the whirl of phones, news, or daily worries, but when your mind is still pristine, untainted by the world's noise. I told you about morning fire earlier, but living with superconsciousness isn't just doing it once. Make it your day's first ritual, like ancient warriors lighting a flame before dawn to ready for battle. As you wake, lie still, breathe deep, for seconds in, 6 out, and feel the small flame in your chest. Ask, what do I need to know today? Then listen. Note the first signal, be it a word, an image, or a feeling, and carry it through the day. I recall a morning 5 years ago, doing this before a long trip. When I asked, one word surfaced, slow. I didn't get it. My schedule was tight, no room for delay. But I trusted superconsciousness and chose to ease up, observing more than rushing. That day, I met a stranger at the airport, a scientist in my field. Our brief talk led to a career-changing collaboration. If I hadn't slowed, if I hadn't heeded that morning flame, I'd have missed it. Try it tomorrow, light your flame, and see where it leads. Superconsciousness doesn't speak once and fall silent. It's an ongoing dialogue, if you'll listen. One of the strongest ways to live with it is to track its flow. Carry a small notebook, I call it a superconscious journal, and make it your companion. Each day, jot down at least one moment superconsciousness speaks. A hunch you felt, a repeating symbol, a choice from intuition. It doesn't need to be long, just a line. Today I felt not to take the usual route, and I dodged traffic. Or, the number 7 showed up thrice. I wonder what it means. I've kept this habit for 20 years, and my notebook's now a map of my soul. Once, I noted seeing a boat 3 days straight, on TV, in a dream, on a cafe painting. I didn't understand, until a friend invited me sailing that weekend. On that boat, I found peace I'd long lost, and a new research idea was born. The Superconscious Journal isn't just notes, it's how you build trust. How you see superconsciousness is always there, guiding you through life's waves. Living in superconsciousness's light also means opening your eyes to the universe's language, signs, coincidences, invisible threads tying it all together. Make observing a habit. When you spot a repeating number, an unexpected image, or a phrase echoing from unrelated sources, don't dismiss it as random. Stop. Ask, what's this? What's it telling me? Then log it in your superconscious journal. I once had a week where door popped up everywhere. In a song, an email, a dream of a green door. I didn't know why, but I stayed curious. That weekend, I got an invite to a seminar titled Opening the Mind's Door. And there, I learned a meditation technique that elevated my research. The universe doesn't speak randomly. It speaks with purpose. Observe, and you'll see the flow of symbols take you beyond what you'd imagined. One of the greatest secrets to living with superconsciousness is learning to pause. The modern world teaches you to run, chasing deadlines, info, success. But superconsciousness doesn't live in haste. It lives in stillness. Practice pausing before key actions. Before answering a question, making a choice, entering a meeting. Just 2 seconds. Breathe. Feel. Ask, is this right? If you feel an expansion in your chest, a relief, that's superconsciousness saying yes. If you feel a contraction, tension, it's a sign to stop. I once stood before a big presentation, hundreds waiting. Logic said stick to my prepared script, but pausing 2 seconds, a feeling pushed me to share a personal story I'd never told. I did, and afterward, an audience member approached, tears streaming, saying that story changed how he saw his life. Those 2 seconds weren't just a break. They were a door for superconsciousness to lead. To live with superconsciousness isn't just theory. I'll give you a practice plan, 7 days to step into the light. Follow it and watch your flame blaze. Day 1. Light the morning fire. Do morning fire. Note the first signal. Carry it all day. Day 2. Listen to your body. Before a small choice, notice body signals. Warmth, chill, pull, push, and act on it. Day 3, 5-second check. Use the 5-second check for a choice. Log the outcome. Day 4, spot symbols. Find a repeating sign, number, image. Write it in your superconscious journal. Day 5, pause and ask. Before a key action, pause 2 seconds. Ask, is this right? And feel. Day 6, mind mirror. Try Mind Mirror. Ask, what do I need to see? And note it. Day 7. Reflect on the light. Sit still. Review your superconscious journal. Ask, did I live true to superconsciousness today? I tested this plan with a small group years ago. One participant, a painter losing inspiration, said on day 4 she saw waves repeat. On TV, in a dream, on a stranger's shirt. By day 7, she painted an ocean scene, and it became her best-selling work. This plan isn't just practice. It's how you invite superconsciousness into your life. Living in superconsciousness's light is being a mountain amid a storm. Outside, winds may howl, thunder may crash, but inside you're a still stone core, where the superconscious flame burns unceasingly. I once stood on a real mountain in the Alps after a long day of failed research. The wind cut like ice, but closing my eyes and breathing, I felt that flame, unshaken, undoubting. And I knew that's where I belong. You do too, because the intuition revolution isn't just a promise. It's the flame burning in you, waiting for you to fan it right now. Light it daily, hear the universe's whisper, and walk with a certainty no logic can match. You don't just live, you shine. And when you shine, the whole world will see that light.